Yo, what's going on, guys? Deco with my first video on the main in a very long time. So I started back playing this account about 3 weeks ago now. Just been skilling a little bit. Pretty much for the past couple of years, really, I've been playing Ironman. Made some pretty good progress on there. I'm at a stage now with the Ironman where I've got a couple of raids items. The next step for me was getting Infernal Cape, and then really it's just maxing. And I guess whilst playing the Ironman and getting to the end game and the finish line really of maxing and all the late game PVM, I guess I just started thinking long term about what's the point, what's the goal here, what am I trying to achieve. I think when I first started that account, I was raring to go for EHP ranks and post 99 skilling. That was my long-term goal with that account, was to rush max and do some post 99 skilling, just because at the time I absolutely hated playing alts. It was a time when skilling services was pretty big in the game. Everyone was doing that, and I was playing rune drag alts at the time, playing 3 accounts simultaneously, whilst everyone else was just earning like 5 times as much money as me by running fucking agility laps for someone else. So that really demotivated me from the main back in, I don't even know what year that was. It was a few years ago now. And so I thought, if I jump on the Ironman bandwagon, then that will allow me to do some post 99 skilling without having to worry about playing money making alts, which seemed like an ideal situation for me. And then once I finally jumped into Ironman and started getting mid-game, some PVM items were efficient for me to get, and I've never been a PVMer. Never really focused on PVM ever in RuneScape, and I think being obligated to get some of those PVM items for efficiency reasons kind of made me realize a different side to the game, and I found it pretty fun. I found, I guess it was the kick that you get from going dry and then finally getting an item. Like, I think the red prison was a pretty defining moment for me. And yeah, just doing some cocks and stuff with the boys. I ended up joining a couple of different clans on that account, really, but perhaps the one that I enjoyed the most was Sacred Souls, which I'm still pretty active in now. It's a casual / PVMing clan where I did a bunch of raids with those guys there. Pretty cool guys. And as I started getting towards launching infernal attempts, which is where I got to, it just started playing on my mind of what comes after this. Let's say I get the infernal cape. Let's say I get the max cape. What then? What do I do then? And I couldn't get it out of my mind, and I ended up coming back to the main about 4 months ago. Just played around a little bit, I did a couple farm runs. I think I maybe did like 5 million mining XP, and then I ended up going back to the Ironman just because I really desperately wanted to actually try the Infernal, and I had all the gear ready, so I ended up going back to the Ironman because I really wanted to actually try the Inferno there. And I guess I just kind of missed the PVM aspect a little bit at first, and So I got to the Inferno. On my most recent attempt at the Inferno on my Ironman, I got to wave 65, and then I fell ill, IRL. I had some sort of musculoskeletal problem. I wasn't sure what was causing it, where I couldn't stay at my computer desk for more than half an hour. I ended up taking sick leave from work for a long time. Just sufferable pain. It was I was struggling to sleep. My fears at the time were that it was rheumatoid arthritis, RA, which is a pretty nasty autoimmune disease that causes your joints to degrade over time. That's definitely what I thought it was. I had multiple visits to my doctor, who wasn't sure what was causing it. They confirmed that they believed it wasn't rheumatoid arthritis because I wasn't receiving any inflammation in my hands and fingers, which is classical symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. So I ended up seeing a rheumatologist specialist privately because public healthcare in the UK would only give me an appointment for, I think it was like 6 months or 7 months or something, which I couldn't wait for, so I ended up going privately. And after consulting with the rheumatologist specialist, he said that it was reactive arthritis rather than rheumatoid arthritis. So basically he said that I had some sort of virus, and my body's response to that was to inflame my joints, to protect the joints, and it'll go away. So it's pretty much gone away now. It's been probably about a month since that pain sort of subdued. It's still there a little bit, but I'm more than capable of, working and playing Rooney again. And after coming back then from my illness, I just completely lost motivation to continue with the Inferno attempts. And I had a lot of time during my time out from playing video games and being on the computer. I had a bit of time to think about my goals and stuff, and I tried to play a bunch of other video games, and there was nothing that just really hit the spot like RuneScape does. I just ended up wasting money on various other video games that just never satisfied me. So I came back to RuneScape, and during that time off, thinking about my goals, I just couldn't stop thinking about how much I hate the PVM mechanics of the game. So I really enjoy the aspect of grinding out a boss and finally getting a drop that you drive for, or the drop that you really need. I think that's really, really exciting. I think the raiding with the boys is really exciting. But the mechanics itself, when you get into efficient PVMing, and if you want to get into hard mode tobs, 500 TOAs, stuff like that, and the Inferno and Colosseum, I just think that PVMing in OSRS is horrible. I truly do. I think that counting ticks and tiles is just, I can't understand how anyone enjoys that. I'm just going to turn off my idle notifier so you don't see this flashing all the time. Just counting ticks and tiles. Like, I had a couple of attempts, maybe like 5 attempts at Inferno where I got beyond wave 60, and every single time when I got beyond wave 60 I died because I missed one tick. Because I was doing 1 tick prayer flicking, and if you mess that up, you get smacked, and I missed 1 tick, and I can't see how that's relaxing or enjoyable. I think that people who enjoy it enjoy it because they're good at it, and it makes them, it gives them some sort of, I don't know, status, some sort of symbol, and I can understand, you know, why that's, I don't know, a good feeling, but I'm not particularly great at it, and nor do I want to be. I don't find it fun. I think the most fun that I had with PVM was when I was doing PVM and I didn't really know what I was doing. So if I'm doing inefficient raids where I'm not, you know, tick perfect, tile perfect, I'm not doing all of the skipping and all the little minor efficiency tricks that are absolutely mandatory nowadays. If you want to do raiding with anyone who's good at PVM, you absolutely have to know all of the little intricacies, and you have to count ticks and tiles and all that shit. And I don't think it's enjoyable, and I'm not just saying that because I'm bad at it. When I played World of Warcraft, I did some pretty high-end raiding there. I was pretty good ranking, pretty sought-after healer. I really enjoyed some of the difficult PVM on World of, or PvE as they call it, on World of Warcraft. So it's not just me being a shitter saying that I don't like this and therefore it's bad. I genuinely think that it's just awful content to have to count tiles and ticks, and it just, I don't know, I can't get over that hurdle mentally. I can't go back to PVM, and I just feel demotivated anytime I think about doing any PVM that requires that sort of stuff. So coming back from my illness, I had to weigh up, am I going to continue? I've invested so much time into my Ironman. Am I going to continue with doing pretty much all the end game PVM that is now required of me now that I'm reaching the end goal? Or if I'm not going to do that PVM, let's knock out the max cape and let's do some post 99 skilling. And just on that note, thinking of going back to the Ironman just to do post 99 skilling, just, I've already got the main with 700 mil XP ahead. It just seemed such a waste of time, and didn't really have the motivation to rebuild all of that progress without trading. It just seemed a bit silly, and I don't think I'll go back to the Ironman, but I don't really regret the time that I did spend playing the Iron. I think that is something that everyone should experience. I think is a different side of the game, and I think that definitely a lot of things on an Ironman are more rewarding, and it's easy to fall into the mindset of you're basically just adding hours. There's nothing that's technically more difficult on an Ironman than on the main. Everything just takes longer to get to, and I think that definitely is true to an extent, but it's just something about earning a Bofa yourself, or earning full bandos yourself, earning your primordial boots and your infinity boots and your eternal boots when you upgrade them. It's just something rewarding about that, and I don't regret my time spent on the Iron. I could have easily have spent that time on the main and got 4-5k EHP by now total. And it's funny, when I stopped playing the main, I think it'd probably be about 2019. When I stopped playing the main, I was rank like 500 at the time, if I remember correctly. I remember getting my rank up in Omnia. I was in Omnia Skilling Clan, and I'm pretty sure I got top 500. And yeah, the ranks have just slowly degraded over time, and now when I look at the high scores and I look at friends that I used to play with back then, you know, who I thought were quite newbie, they've all got more XP than me now. They've all got 1.72 bill XP because they just play this game so much. They're not interested in EHP or skilling or efficiency. They just play this game so much, and they just do a shitload of Slayer content, hunting for pets, clue scrolls, I don't know, just they do a whole bunch of random shit in the game, and it's just amounted to a lot of XP over time. And now it's funny that I used to be in the HLC and I used to think of myself as a competitive skiller somewhat, and now this account is completely newbie, and I think that's quite refreshing in a way. I have played 3 weeks, I've come back to this account for 3 weeks, and I've gained 120 EHP ranks, so it's pretty crazy. I think there's an awful lot of dead accounts above me. I had a little look on Temple at some of the guys who were above me to see if there's anyone that I recognize, and there were just hundreds of flatliners, and it's kind of sad to see, really. I think that the HLC is a lot smaller, you know, from what I've seen. I think Solis are flourishing. They're probably the biggest high-level community skilling clan. But I have a bunch of friends in Hexis from when I used to be a Smiley in Hexis, and yeah, I was chatting to Pogba actually at the pond. I noticed Pogba, and I was chatting to him, and he said that he's in Hexis, and he said that yeah, I should join back, and I think the next day I joined. So yeah, shout out to Pogba for encouraging me to join back. So yeah, I'm in Hexis at the moment. I'm sitting at around 2,500 EHP, and I think mine and quite a lot of people's mindsets have really shifted from EHP. I don't really see a lot of people talking about EHP anymore. Like I'm still in contact with quite a lot of the guys that I used to play with, and people who are pretty high up on the high scores, and whenever I speak to them, it seems like no one's really interested in talking about EHP. A lot of people refer to XP instead nowadays, which is kind of interesting. And I think maybe the reason for that is because we've had so many people burn out over the years, that it really doesn't matter how much EHP you have if you're not gonna finish. You know, it matters how much XP you have because you're higher on the high scores, and that seems to be what people care about more at the moment, and probably especially with a new skill coming out, sailing. I think you know, it doesn't matter if you have 200 mil all, you know, you can be passed now if you don't train skilling. So if you don't train sailing. So I think maybe the focus has shifted slightly more towards XP than EHP, and honestly I think that's quite a good thing. Some people listening to this may completely disagree with me, and maybe they hear EHP being talked about a lot, but just the people I know seem to refer to XP a lot more. As for my goals on the main, I've been thinking about 50 mil base, so I came back and I'm trying to chip away at little sections. I'm quite intimidated by some skills, if I'm being honest. I'm quite intimidated by rune crafting and agility. I think they're such slow skills. My problem is that I'm working full-time. I have a wife, so I'm never able to get more than like 20, 30 EHP weeks, which is pretty bad. But I've guessed that I've realized that I'm going to be playing this game for the foreseeable future. There's never going to be a time in my life where I stop playing RuneScape. I'll always be playing it in some form or another, whether that's Ironman, whether that's, I don't know, private server, this, you know, like, oh, Full Skip is coming out. There'll always be RuneScape in my life, so I'm not in a rush. I don't feel the need to put up big weeks. I feel the need to be consistent, and I feel the need to enjoy myself. If I decide that 50 mil base is not what I want along the journey, that's absolutely fine. You know, I'm not going to pressure myself or feel bad for giving up on my goals. I think it's important to you know, change the marker whenever your mind feels like it. I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. If I decide to go into PVM, then, you know, so be it. But at the moment, my mindset is kind of fixed on 50 mil all. So I started chipping away at mining. I've got to 35 mil, and I thought that I would hop to fishing, get this to like 45 mil. I think I prefer the idea of chipping away, doing like the odd 5 mil here, the 10 mil there. I don't know if there's anyone else who's played like that. I know Hibox Younger did 50 mil base, and then he did like 100 mil base, something like that. I don't know if there's anyone who sort of does chips away, you know, like 5 mil, 10 mil hop, you know. But my reason for that is, if you take rune crafting, for example, where I'm only 20 mil XP, if I'm going for 50 mil base and I know that I have to get 30 mil rune crafting XP, to me that's a lot. To me that's, I don't know, it's a bit of a mounting, it's a bit intimidating. Going for 30 mil is such a slow skill. I don't know, I feel like if I set myself the goal of 30 mil rune crafting XP, I can do that. Absolutely, I can do that. If I set my mind to that, I can do 30 mil. And then, you know, I hop to Slayer and I say get 30 mil Slayer, and then maybe I want to go back and get 35 mil rune crafting, and that way I just kind of spread the XP around the skills and things stop seeming so intimidating to me. It's definitely a mental battle, but yeah, that's my mindset at the moment. I'm not sure if it'll work out, but seems to be working so far. So you also might have noticed my Temporos pet here next to me, and the very lovely visual on my screen, the fucked up plugins, this aerial fishing. So I kind of care a little bit about the collection log. It's completely, you know, incompletable for me, and I don't even want to do some of the PVM content, but I don't know, there's something in my mind of if I was to if I was to get 200 mil fishing, wouldn't I feel bad that, you know, I got to go back and spend time, you know, wouldn't I feel bad that I've got to spend time doing aerial fishing in Temporos when I'm not even getting any XP for it? It just feels like a complete waste of hours. So I don't know, I don't want to have that regret should it ever happen. So I'm currently working on, in the process of getting my 50 mil base to green log all of the skilling stuff in the collection log. And honestly, it isn't much. I think most of it's Slayer, which is a pretty big obstacle. I kind of enjoy all of the Slayer bosses. Like, there's no bad tile counting, tick counting, AIDS, PVM stuff with Slayer. But that'll be a lot of hours to green log Slayer in the collection log. So maybe Slayer will be a little bit too much, but I've been working on green logging the mining stuff, which is just volcanic mine, that free-to-play Camo Duzal. I don't know what it's called. The you know, the free-to-play stuff, and the White Wolf Mountain or Ice Mountain. So I've been working on green logging. That I'm halfway through the free-to-play stuff. It's a little bit more longer than I thought it would take. Probably spent like 3 or 4 hours there, and I'm only halfway through. I've also done maybe, I don't know, 6 mil, I would say, volcanic mine, and yeah, if not, I just need the broken dragon pickaxe, which I haven't got yet. So yeah, with the fishing stuff, however, I actually managed to green log Temperos, which I got extremely spooned on, thankfully. What else is there? Aerial fishing, as you can see, I'm at 521 pearls. I think I need like 1,250, so coming up to halfway with the aerial fishing. And honestly, I kind of like this content. I think it can be a little bit intense to do for a while, but I think it's really, really good content and very, very good XP all around. You get your hunter XP and your fishing XP, and I stopped hunter at 100 mil, and I think the idea of green logging this and doing rumors to get the pet there will definitely chip away a bit of hunter XP, and it'll make going from 100 mil to 200 mil a lot less intimidating, because I stopped hunter at 100 mil, and I think it was just a mental barrier of like, my god, do I have to do this again? And it's kind of funny, you know, the social clan that I was in kept telling me to go finish hunter, you know, like just get another 100 mil hunter XP, which is a lot easier said than done. And I actually picked hunter. I actually picked hunter when I did it because it's my least favorite skill. I thought if I can knock that out, then I'm in good stead. So I stopped at 100 mil because it was my least favorite skill, which is kind of funny. And in the process of getting 100 mil, I started enjoying the skill, but not enough to finish 200. So maybe someday. What else is there to talk about? I think one thing I do want to talk about is a topic that came up in the Hexis Discord the other day. Randy, Abra, Bront, and Reptilian, maybe some other guys, were talking about Hallowed Sepulchre, and they were saying how some people think that it massively devalued agility by adding, you know, such a huge XP boost and making it profitable, which was very imbalanced at the time. And a lot of people seem opposed to that opinion, saying that actually Hallowed Sepulchre is quite a challenging piece of content and it deserves its rewards, especially because it's so intense. And I definitely agree that Hallowed Sepulchre is balanced content. I think it's great content, even if I don't personally love doing it. You know, I did it for a bit on the Ironman. I got the Ring of Endurance, etc. But even if I don't enjoy doing Hallowed Sepulchre, I think it is good content. But perhaps the bigger point raised was one by Bront, who said that no one would be doing Hallowed Sepulchre if it wasn't for the plugins highlighting everything. And I think that's definitely true. It's definitely true, and it's quite sad, really, that we have to balance content around third-party plugins. Quite a lot of PVM stuff nowadays, and you know, is even seeped into like stuff like agility. People just would not want to do that if it wasn't for third-party plugins. And I don't know, it kind of made me demotivated a little bit when I was reading those messages. It made me feel a little bit like, this game's going to hell. I was a bit dramatic at the time, you know, I sort of getting these thoughts of what's the fucking point, this game's going to shit. Power creep is insane. You know, all the standard things that you worry about with the longevity and the integrity of the game, and made me feel like maybe I want to play something with a little bit more integrity, something a little bit more, I don't know, permanent. And I was speaking to Automelogy about OSRS, which is a private server that's coming out that's going to be an exact one-to-one replica, 100% authentic 2004 RuneScape. And I don't know, I liked the idea. I've been thinking about it. I like the idea of playing something that I know is not going to get devalued, something that I know isn't going to get updates that make, you know, I don't know, I have this fear, you know, that I finish wood cutting or something. I get 200 mil wood cutting, and then the very next day a new piece of content comes out that's, you know, double the XP, and I completely missed out on it, and I wasted all of that time. I know that's a stupid way to think. We should just get on with the skill, but I can't help but feel like that sometimes. And I think that that's probably been one of the biggest obstacles for me in RuneScape, is what's the point of doing anything, because it's all going to get devalued and power creep and everything. And they're going to restart the servers, like shit like that, you know. And I started thinking about, you know, maybe when 2004 Scape comes out, maybe I'm going to, you know, hop over to that and try and invest a good chunk of time into that, because I think it would be so cool to, you know, really progress on that game, knowing that it's permanent and knowing how challenging it is. Like, it is a huge challenge, and it's very, very respectable to achieve anything. In 2004, just with how the game was, the lack of accessibility and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know, the more I've been sort of weighing it up, the more I've been thinking about it, I just realized that I think Oldschool RuneScape in its current state is a genuinely great game. I do. I think it genuinely is a great game. It can be frustrating, and we definitely have our concerns, and I think that a lot of integrity and certainly all of the nostalgia has been lost with Oldschool RuneScape. And Automelogy definitely raises some valid points when he calls that Oldschool RuneScape shouldn't be referred to as old school. I do agree with him, and I think if a no update 2007 server was to come out, I think this is something I've talked about in a few of my videos, if that sort of server was to come out, I don't think I'd be able to restrain myself from hopping over to a 2007 no update server. But as for 2004, especially unlicensed, you know, private server, I don't know. I feel like the game is just a little too unpolished. Do you know what I mean? Like, just, I don't want to I don't want to use a knife and then on a log and then click maple longbow 1 and then do it again, you know, manually using my shrimps on a fire one by one. That's a little bit too clunky, a little bit too, I don't know, a little bit too old school maybe for me. And then it makes me think, where is the line with that? Is it really that terrible? There's many steps in between. Like, is it really that terrible that fishing spots are highlighted here? I don't know. There's many steps in between that, and where do we say that this was quality of life and this loses integrity? And one of those things that I actually want to highlight is the goldsmithing gauntlets. So I don't know if many people know, this is a pretty obscure piece of knowledge. The goldsmithing gauntlets actually got a buff in 2005. So when the goldsmithing gauntlets came out originally, they gave 1.5 times experience. And in 2005, they received a buff to make them, I think, 2.5 times experience. And I feel like if something like that was to come out today, like let's say the goldsmith gauntlets never received that buff. And now let's say there was a poll that came out today that said, should the goldsmith gauntlets receive a buff to become 2.5 times boost? That would be a pretty, I don't know, one of those things is objectively, this is losing integrity of the game, This is not old school. You're affecting the integrity of the game and you're changing metas and stuff like that. And in reality, that actually did happen in 2005. So where do we draw the line that this was the game's highest integrity and this is quality of life? And I think if you just pull on that thread of thought and you just trickle down the line, I think it can be very easy to actually see that this is actually a really, really good game. Oldschool RuneScape is a really, really fun game. And I think for me right now, this is the best game on the market. There's no other game that I prefer playing. I guess that's a little bit of motivation for me to know. Yeah, I think this ramble's gone on long enough, and I'm excited to see. My current goal is 45 mil fishing, and I'm excited to see. Am I able to achieve some of the minor goals? If this mindset of chipping away 5-10 mil at a time, I'm excited to see how that works out for me, and I'm just gonna try to enjoy the grind. Honestly, I'm not worried about EHP or rank. So yeah, competing, I know that competing's not realistic for me. I just enjoy skilling. I think is fun, and if it takes me years to make any noticeable progress, then I've got nothing else to do. This is what I enjoy doing. Yeah, that's all I've got right now, so catch you next time.